All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my studio. I'm meeting a lot of you for the first time. I am Mary Rose Feldman. I am an artist and a certified Zentangle teacher. I'm in Pennsylvania, a little town called Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, about an hour west of Philly. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. I see some familiar faces. I see some family, which is kind of nice. So the plan tonight is going to be pretty simple. I wanted to introduce Zentangle to those who have never had a chance to really understand what it was. For some of you, it's going to be a refresher. And I'm going to do that right up front in the beginning of the class. I want to get that kind of the principles of what Zentangle is and what it isn't out of the way first. So that once we start to tangle and go with our pen, there's a little less chatter from myself. And if you see me look right, I apologize. People are still coming in, so I just want to let them get in as quick as possible. So I'm going to talk a little bit up front about what that is. I'll have a chance for questions in there. If you have a question in the middle, that's fine. Or we can wait till the end. If I get too many questions all at once, I might have us hold them until a little bit later. We'll kind of go with the flow on that. I am going to try to watch the chat also. So if you see me looking to the right, I'm just going to watch the chat if you feel more comfortable asking a question there. If by chance it scrolls by and I miss it, either put it in again or raise your virtual hand or unmute, anything like that. We're casual here, so however that works is going to be fine. And then the most of the part of the class is going to be all of us tangling. We're going to go through the steps of what Zentangle is. You will end up with a tile that has a complete pattern on it, just like we do when we tangle in our private lives. Okay, so you'll see in practicality, hands-on, what Zentangle is all about. And that's kind of the plan. And I have my notes in front of me, so you'll see me kind of glancing down every now and then. So what is Zentangle? I describe Zentangle as a mindfulness tool that uses the pen stroke as focus. That's in its simplest form. That's exactly what we're doing. We're bringing all of our senses into a moment and we're appreciating the pen stroke and the feel of the pen in our hand and the paper that we use. So for supplies when you tangle, while there are Zentangle tiles and pens that we use, you do not have to use any of that. You can use what you like, okay? That's the big a misconception I hear quite often, that you have to use a micron pen or you have to use a Zentangle tile. No. Find the paper that you like. Find the pen that you like, because what we want is the feel of this. When you pick up that pen, we want you to feel relaxed and happy and joyful. Okay, so it's meant to be super simple. It was created by Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas in about 2004, so we're coming up on our 20th anniversary. And they realized that in the process of drawing, Maria's a calligrapher and Rick is a former monk. And they realized that when she would draw repetitive patterns, she would almost get into a meditation. And they brought their skills together and they defined what Zentangle is. And they put a series of principles around it so that it's not just drawing patterns from the world. And it's the principles of Zentangle that make it special, which is why it's really nice to learn from somebody who's certified to teach it, because it's ingrained in our heads that this is a mindfulness tool. Even though we make art, at its core, it's a mindfulness tool and a mindfulness skill, which is what I want to go over here. Okay, so I'm going to say this briefly for mindfulness. What is it? Why do we need to do it? Mindfulness is a chance for our brains to reconnect with how we are feeling in the moment. It is a chance to bring all of our senses into the moment and just acknowledge how you feel. Happy, sad, worried, angry, any of it. Just to acknowledge it. You're not problem solving and you're not there's no judgment, okay? Just in that process of bringing yourself into the moment, your body can relax a little bit because it's not holding the emotions in. It's not pushing them to the side. It's just saying, this is how I feel right now, okay? And that's what mindfulness is. You can do this with other things. People who meditate, their focus is on the breath. When we tangle, our focus is on the pen stroke. Okay, so it's the same type of principles with that. There's also a misconception that Zentangle is doodling. And here's my take on that misconception. I personally think doodling is an art form of its own, right? I think it's really cool. It looks similar to Zentangle because it's usually a black pen and white paper. Where they differ is how you are feeling in the moment of when you are doodling and tangling, and where your focus is when you're doodling versus tangling. When you're doodling, your random pen strokes, your hand is kind of doing something on the paper and your mind is somewhere else. It's kind of a mindless, disconnected art form. I personally think it's an art form. So I want to make that very clear. But when we tangle, it's the opposite. We want our mind, our hand, our energy, our senses all focused all together. So in the moment and the process is where it differs. The other thing that's different is that in Zentangle, we have a lot of repetition. It is in the repetition where we find the calm and the relaxation. Patterns are all over the world, right? We did not create patterns. We don't copyright patterns, anything. They're everywhere. What we do is we see a pattern and we look at it and we deconstruct it into 3 or 4 simple pen strokes. And you repeat those 3 or 4 pen strokes to find the calm and the relaxation. You don't have to think about where you're going next. It's you just keep repeating, okay? And it's in the pattern where you get that flow and that calm and that mindfulness, okay? So both forms of art, I respect them both, but just how you feel in the process is where it's different. Rick and Maria put a set of principles around Zentangle to help us. It's almost like a ritual of it so that we can appreciate the mindfulness piece of what we do in Zentangle. Number 1, we embrace individuality. So my job as a teacher is not to make you tangle exactly like me. You should tangle like you. It should look different. Your pen stroke should look different. You should have your own style. We like that. We like that. We want you to feel comfortable and be yourself on this. So we embrace individuality. We don't pre-plan our tiles and we don't try to make them look like anything in the world. Okay? We sit down, we pick a tangle pattern that has been deconstructed for us, and we go. And whenever we feel like it, we will change a tangle pattern and do something else. Okay? If you start to see tangle patterns that look like things, I personally like to draw feathers a lot. We call it Zentangle inspired art. You are taking it a little bit away from the mindfulness piece of Zentangle and you're taking it a little bit further into the art side of Zentangle. It's really good to know what you need in the moment. Okay? Today, I'm really stressed. I need to be mindfulness. I need to do Zentangle for mindfulness. But today I feel okay. I can do a little bit of play. Okay? It's just kind of need to know where you are on the spectrum. Where am I? Okay. Big principle for Zentangle is no mistakes. And we really take that to heart. We tangle with pen. And our philosophy is not that mistakes don't happen. We've all dropped our pen. I've sneezed while I've been tangling. People have fallen asleep while they've been tangling, and we get these wayward pen strokes. When we say no mistakes, we mean that we look at that mistake as an opportunity for something that we would never have done originally. Okay, just like in life when something happens unexpectedly, that doesn't ruin our day. We just kind of have to adjust and keep moving forward. So that's what we mean by no mistakes. There's no up or down. So a lot of art forms you see there's a right or a wrong in the direction. We tangle with a tile and we will turn it. Okay, we spin our tiles. The goal of when we tangle, and you'll see when I switch my camera, is that your writing hand is to have a nice loose pen grip. As Rick would say, I should be able to come up behind you and take that pen right out of your hand. Okay, if you start to really tighten up this grip, what I call a death grip, that tension goes all the way up your arm, all the way up to your shoulders, and before you know it, you're sitting like this, and it's far from relaxation. Okay, so nice loose pen grip. You want to get your writing hand in a spot that is comfortable. Usually I rest my forearm on the table, not my wrist. You don't want to pinch any of the nerves in here. You'll make a pen stroke, and then we turn our tile and we make a pen stroke, and we turn the tile to fit the relaxation of our hand. Okay, so we don't have an up or down in any of our tiles. You'll also hear me say perspective. Perspective is a big thing in tangling because we get so focused on that one pen stroke, we kind of lose the big picture. And it's always nice sometimes to just take our tile and hold it out and get a perspective on it, okay, and get an appreciation on it. Same thing in life. Sometimes we need just a little perspective on things and everything falls into place. We slow down. So I'm going to go at kind of a medium pace when we start to tangle. You just want to make sure that you're not rushing, going super fast so that you're not appreciating the pen stroke. And you don't want to go so slow that you're trying to be perfect. I say this to my students all the time. What makes our imperfect pen strokes and our imperfect hand is what makes Zentangle beautiful. We're not looking to be machines. We want the imperfections because that's what's going to give your tile energy. Okay, that's what's going to make it personal. So you can relax and just go right into it because there's no mistakes. We invite that in our tiles. Every tile's an original work of art. But to be honest, we don't really care about the final product. We care more about how you feel in this process. If you sit down and you did 5 lines, took a breath, and felt better, that's a win. That's a win in our book, okay? We happen to create very cool art, but that's a byproduct. We're not trying to do that. Our goal is to be mindful and to appreciate the pen stroke. Okay, so that's kind of Zentangle in a nutshell. If you take those principles away, you are drawing patterns, which is always fun and cool, right? But you're not getting the benefit of the mindfulness. All right, anybody have questions? I'm looking, we're good. Check the chat. Okay, so I'm gonna switch my camera. I'm gonna show you a couple samples. Let me get this zoomed in a little bit and I'll refocus. These are not what we're doing here. I'm not gonna show you what we're doing today because we're gonna go one stroke at a time. But this is a traditional Zentangle tile. This was a mindfulness day for me. I picked a couple patterns, put them in, picked a different pattern, put them in. Simple black and white. Our slogan is anything is possible, one stroke at a time. So we go one pen stroke at a time, and wherever it leads, it leads. Okay, this is another one. Okay, black and white, simple. Okay, so these are what you see, the repetition in the Zentangle, a Zentangle tile. So let's talk about supplies on this. You can use anything, like I said before. Rick and Maria decided to choose a 3.5-inch square tile as our traditional tile. They chose 3.5-inch square because they wanted people to be able to tangle in 15 minutes, get in, complete it, and get out. And they decided that this square was a pretty comfortable piece of space for people to do it. You need a pen. I'm going to tangle with an 0.5 micron, a simple pencil, and then typically we use something called a tortillon, which is just a rolled piece of paper, or you can use a Q-tip, or you can use your finger. This is not mandatory, but you'll see it in most of the basic Zentangle kits. Okay, but find supplies that you like to work with. It does not have to be this. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to have your paper in front of you, have your pen and pencil handy just off to the side. We're going to do our first step of tangling, which is always a moment of gratitude. So what I'm going to do is invite you to just sit back in your chair. I like to put my hands on my lap so that they're nice and calm. I want to make sure I'm not making a fist, that my hand is nice and relaxed, both hands. And just, if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes and just take a couple breaths at your own pace. They don't have to be deep breaths. All we are doing right now is inviting all of our senses into one place. We're bringing all of our energy to this moment. You could start to take a long, slow inhale and just imagine positive energy filling your lungs. And a long exhale. And imagine blowing out your tension, releasing your tension. You should feel your shoulders drop. And I just want you to think in your mind, I am calm. I am thankful. Take a moment to yourself and have a moment of gratitude for something from today or this weekend. And whenever you're ready, take a good deep breath and you can open your eyes. We always start tangling with a moment of gratitude. That moment can be anything you want it to be, and it can be as long or as short as you want it to be. Sometimes I just take a good deep breath, and sometimes I really take a moment to settle my breath, whatever I need. Okay, so you're allowed to make that your own. We are going to go next to our pencil. So go ahead and pick up your pencil, and you have your paper in front of you. If you don't have a square, you can just draw a square on copy paper or anything you want. And nice loose grip with your pencil, we are going to come in and put a dot kind of in the corner. And we're going to put a dot down here. And then we're going to turn our tile. So we'll end up with 4 dots. And I'm in maybe a 1/2 inch, but it doesn't matter. Those 4 dots can be anywhere. Still with our pencil, we are going to connect those dots into a border. That border does not have to be a straight line. So notice how I'm putting the pencil line and then I'm turning the tile. And for the purposes of our demo tonight, we're going to all do the same next step. The next step is called a string, and normally everybody does something different. For tonight, we're all going to do the same thing. We're going to connect one corner to the other, just in one direction. This is still with pencil. And we're going to do something called an aura. In the Zentangle world, an aura means that we kind of outline a line. We're going to make this aura nice and wide. So an aura mimics a line. It's just that this one is pretty wide of a gap. I'm going to turn my tile around. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So when you tangle in your own world, in your own time rather, this can be anything you want it to be. Okay, and you can put down your pencil. I want to explain why we did these steps in pencil. After you have a moment of gratitude and you pick up your tile and you look at it, it's a blank tile, and that can be really intimidating, especially if you're not used to drawing, you're not used to creativity, you're really stressed. It's a blank piece of paper, I don't know where to start, and it can make you freeze. Putting the 4 dots on the paper makes it not a blank piece of paper anymore. It's just the ritual to keep you moving forward when you're really stressed and you don't know where to go next. Okay? The border is exactly what it says it is. It's just a way of giving us a little bit of a frame. And then the string divides our space for different tangle patterns. Okay? We do this all in pencil because it's a suggestion. Once we switch to pen and you start tangling, if you change your mind, you can tangle a pattern right over that pencil line and the pencil line will disappear. So it's just a way of giving us flexibility to transition us into tangling. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my pen. So you can grab whatever pen you're going to be using. And we have, when somebody looks at a pattern in the world and they break it down into 4 or 5 pen strokes, we, out of courtesy, say who broke that tangle pattern down, who broke that pattern down. So we're going to do a pattern called, I just forgot it. Oh my gosh, facet. Let me go in a little bit closer so you can see. So whoever deconstructs the pattern names it, just for communication purposes, because there's trillions of patterns in the world. And this is a pattern called deconstructed by Lynn Mead. So again, this isn't a copyright thing. This is just a courtesy that we like to do. Okay, you can flip your tile back over. I usually do this on the back of my tiles, write the names of the tangles. Okay, so I'm going to look in this space right here with my pen. So everything we do from now on until we shade is with pen. And I'm going to put in a big zigzag line. So my hand doesn't like to do zigzags in one stroke. It likes it better if I do it individual, but you can do it however you want. So just a reminder, loose pen grip, and we are just warming up, appreciating the ink on the paper. We're going to do the same thing in this channel, but I want it to be mirrored. Okay, so if the point was here, the point is here. Okay, and I'm gonna switch to a thinner pen because I think that one's gonna be too thick. Okay, everybody good to there? Right? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at one triangle at a time. So I'm gonna look at this A triangle. You can pick any one that you can see. I'm gonna go ahead and trace that pencil line at the bottom. You can actually trace that whole line across, that whole diagonal line. Save us a little time later. Okay, so we're going to look at this triangle right here. And I'm going to have, I think, you watch what we're going to do in each triangle. So I mentioned aura before. Aura in Zentangle is when you outline a line. So I am going to come into this triangle and I'm going to aura the inside. So I can comfortably aura two sides. But if I try to aura that third side without moving my tile, I'm going to end up with my hand in an awkward position. So I'm going to aura two sides. I'm going to turn my tile so my hand is comfortable. And then I'm going to aura the third. And you could see that was a little wavy. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to aura the inside. Oh, now it's uncomfortable. I'm going to aura again. I can probably get one more, and then I'm just going to color in that triangle. So just go ahead and do that step in one triangle. The number of auras doesn't matter. Just keep auraing the lines until you get to the center and then color in the center. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find the point of all those triangles and just connect it with a line. Turn your tile, connect these points, and connect these points. So that is the tangle pattern. That is the repetition. In every triangle, you're going to aura as many times as you can, and then color in the center, and then connect your points. If you have a triangle that it goes off into the border, you can wait. I'll describe that in a minute, or in a few minutes. Just do all the ones that you can see the full triangle. So this is where you want to really feel your hand in that pen. Appreciate the pen strokes. Take your time. Each triangle does not have to have the same number of auras in it. Just allow your hand to be calm. Allow the lines to be wavy. Are you holding your breath? It's a good time to just take a deep breath. Check your body position. I tend to have my head go to the side, so I always have to correct it. Whenever you get 3, 4, 5 triangles done, I'm going to invite you to look at it with some perspective. So take it and just hold it out at arm's length and appreciate the pattern that's being formed very simply. If you get to the point where you can't see the full triangle, so right here I have a triangle, I can see a full side and then my other 2 sides are partial, right? They run into the border. I'm going to fill that triangle in with what I think I can see. So for example, I'm imagining that this comes down, there's a point here, but I don't need to draw it. I'm just going to aura with what I think would be visible. So when you do any type of mindfulness, in our case, we're focused on the pen stroke. If your mind wanders or if outside thoughts come into your mind, just acknowledge them. Let them float by like a cloud, a balloon, whatever, however you want to think about it. Take a deep breath and just bring your focus back to your pen stroke. That is the purpose of mindfulness. It's a good time to check your pen grip. Did you start to tighten up your pen grip? If so, let your pen go, wiggle your fingers a little bit, and start again with a loose grip. And the next time you hold it out for perspective, you're going to see a whole new, very cool pattern. So we'll do another minute or so, and then I'll show you the next step we're going to do. So when you're tangling on your own, you can take this pattern, this facet pattern, and you can play with it every night, and every night get a different look. You can change up that zigzag that we started. You could make it really big, you could make it really little. What if you did random triangles? So with one pattern, you can play with it for a long, long time. Okay, so I'm going to look, we now have this very cool strip in the center, just with the facet. We've got now these edges, but look at them. They're triangles. So all we're going to do is treat this triangle like we did in here. It's just a bigger scale, right? So I'm going to come in. I did trace this pencil line already. If you didn't, you could go ahead and do that. I'm going to trace the edge. And I'm just going to treat it just like we did in the center. I'm going to aura and I'm just going to keep auraing until I get to the center. So you have longer lines now. You want to make sure that your hand is comfortable. Comfortable for me usually means pulling the line towards me, but for you, it might be pushing the line away. You try both ways and see what your hand likes. And my hand can change comfort decisions based on my tension. So once I do that one side, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do the same over here. And I have a little bit of a wavy line. I can choose to make it straight or I can keep the wave. So I think I'm just going to ignore the pencil line and I'm going to decide to just make it straight. Yeah, Nancy has a point in the chat. It's crazy how you cannot see how this pattern started. That original zigzag line is completely gone. It looks crazy complicated. I haven't said it in a while. Take a deep breath. Okay? When I first started tangling, I would hold my breath all the time. And I have part of my border that's not traced in pen, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Somewhere along the line I didn't trace my border. And whenever you're done with that, you can set aside your pen and hold out your tile with perspective. And just appreciate your tile. So when I hold my tile out, I'm holding it out like this and I'm looking at it, and I'm also spinning it. Because remember, we don't have an up or down. So I kind of spin it around and I appreciate it. Sometimes we get so focused on perfect lines, which you shouldn't be going for perfect lines anyway, but we get so focused on a line, and then you hold it out and the whole picture is gorgeous. You can't see the line that you were fretting about. So we'll do another 30 seconds or so, but you can grab your pencil. Whatever pencil you have is fine. I tend to like to start with an HB pencil and then I'll go to a 2B. It does not matter. It's whatever pencil you have on hand and that you like. We are going to transform this pattern again. So we started with one look with a zigzag, 2 zigzag rows. We tangled one pattern and got a completely different look. And now with shading, we're going to get a completely different look. So here's what we're going to do. On our tile, the places where you colored in the center triangle, like you arid and you arid and you arid, and then you have the colored in triangle, you're going to take your pencil and you're just going to, in circles, put graphite to either side of that triangle, like that. Okay, and I'm just doing circles. I'm not being fussy. I'm just scribbling. Let me get a piece of paper here. I'm kind of doing this. Circles like this. Okay, you can go back and forth if you want. Doesn't matter. Whatever's comfortable for you. And everywhere that I colored in that little center triangle, I'm going to darken on each edge. Now, we're not darkening all the way. We're just darkening maybe 1 or 2 rows of ours. Okay? Keep it nice and tight to that colored in triangle. So shading is part of our 8 steps of tangling. I do know some people who find joy in the tangling but not the shading. And I have also tangled things and just didn't feel like doing any shading. So it is somewhat optional. Or if you don't have a pencil handy, just tangle with your pen and don't shade. Okay, I think I got them all. So when you held it out with perspective before we shaded, you saw more boxes, kind of like that, right? You saw boxes or a star flower or something like that. But now that you shade, the boxes went away and you've got a little bit of a different pattern going on. What we normally do with shading like this is we take our tortillon, which is just a graphite smudger, and I'll show it with a Q-tip also, and we just come in and we smudge the edges of that graphite. So I'm taking it from here and I'm pulling it up, but I want to leave the center right here pure white. The key to shading, especially patterns, is you need contrast. You need some areas that are dark and some areas that are light. We don't care about light source and rules and everything. We just want contrast. So with my smudger, I'm just going to smooth the edge of that graphite. I'm kind of doing those circles again. You can do that with a Q-tip. Just go back and forth and smudge. You can do it with your finger. Okay, now I went a little too hard. I rubbed off some of the graphite, but okay, so all of these squares in whatever you have, and if you don't have anything, you could leave it just the way it is. But we're just smudging the edge of that graphite. Oops, sorry. And principles of this is the same. I want to keep my hand with the tool comfortable, and I want to turn my tile to get it into a comfortable position. And look how cool that pattern is. Okay, so we're going to do about another 30 seconds. I still see a couple people working. We might go, we started 2 minutes late, so I might go over a little bit. We have a couple more steps in the process. So in reality, in real time, from start to finish, this tile would take 10 minutes maybe, depending on how big your triangles are, how I'm a tiny tangler, so I usually have a lot of spaces to fill. Oops, and I just saw. Okay, so the next step we do when we tangle, inadvertently we created a piece of art. Our goal was to relax and to be mindful, but we happen to create very, very cool art. So just like an artist would, with our pen, somewhere on the front of your tile, you are going to put your initials. We call it a chop, C-H-O-P. But somewhere on the front, you want to acknowledge the art that you made and put your initials. They can be within the tangle, on the border, doesn't matter. And we also like to sign the back and date it. If I'm somewhere really cool, sometimes I'll write on the back of the tile where I was, which is kind of a neat way. And the last step is always the same as the first. Sit back in your chair, take a nice good deep breath, and have a moment of gratitude. Okay, so first of all, yay, you all did your first tile. Or some of you, it's not your first, but it was a good reminder. We have a tradition in tangling called the Mosaic, and I would like to just honor the Mosaic tradition. In person, it's very powerful because we take all of our tiles and we lay them out together in one mosaic. It's really special. It's never, ever, ever for comparison. Our mosaics are for inspiration. It's to see how, 28 people can tangle a tile and they all look different. And that's a good thing. And it's also to look at it as a whole and have the mosaic together and have a moment where without you, that mosaic changes. So your participation and you putting pen to paper and taking a moment for breath is a special moment. And without you being here, it would be different. So in Zoom, it's a little awkward. If I can just have everybody put their cameras on and hold their tiles up to the screen. I have everybody up on my screen that I can do an image. All right, so wiggle your hands. Just wiggle your fingers a little bit. Take a good deep breath. That is our demo. If you would like the full 101 class, I'm teaching that on Thursday. And I'm going to get you all my information here. The full 101 class, we do 2.5-ish tiles. We're going to learn 6 to 8 new tangle patterns. We get a little bit more into some of the philosophy and the mindfulness, although it's not much longer than what I did here, because I want everybody to tangle more. I show you how to adapt tangles a little bit, learn a tangle, and then go off and take it into different places. So if you want to join my email list, I don't know, I hope you can see that. I tested this earlier. So if you want to join my email list, you can scan that, or that's the link. If you're in my email list, you get one email every Monday. I give you a free class every month. You get access to a private web page that has tangling videos that I post, and you get advance notice on classes, events, retreats, anything like that. Okay, and then this is the information where my classes are. So I have classes on my website, thesentimentalgift.com/classes. And then I also have a Teachable School for a little bit more on-demand classes. You could go there and see. I run beginner classes, pure mindfulness class, pure basic Zentangle classes, as well as Zentangle inspired art. So I kind of go both, I treat both ends of the spectrum on there. Anybody have any questions? We good? Do we feel good? I hope we feel good after that. So, all right. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here and sharing an hour with me. And if you ever have questions, I am here to help. All right. Bye.